You need a good-looking guy, a logical guy, a guy that can reach many types of different people, different audiences. And, you know, you were that guy. And just the fact that you didn't come out like Gear Up or Venom Fang. You didn't come out preaching. You had some videos that you did focus on, which was awesome. But your identity was already established at that time. Like, you know, people were like, you know, Brock is pretty witty. You're not going to get shit past him.
The truth be told, most people that come to YouTube, they don't have a biblical education. They're marred in lies, and they're entangled in delusion, and what essentially the world has spoon-fed them since they were in the cradle. And I remember thinking, in order to speak to a person like that, you have to be realistic about where they come from. You know, you can come out of the gate and treat them like they're born-again Christians, but the truth is they're not born-again Christians. Why would a Christian approach it like that? If you're around edifying believers, you can speak what I like to call Christianese. But if you're not, it's wasting time. It's white noise. The Christian faith is a very, very rational faith. Ultimately, it does require a faith leap of one's soul and one's life and the following of Christ. But to think that these fundamental truths cannot be supported with reason and facts and truth is preposterous. And moreover, the atheism is building an entire worldview on what at the very beginning is a house of cards that you can push over with a strong, brisk wind. You do not need to really delve deep to realize that nothing from nothing is preposterous. Self-worship is preposterous. People have asked me a couple times why I no longer make YouTube videos at the same pace that to be quite frank, I was able to leverage some of that success, some mainstream media outlets that I'm now using in a very similar manner. But the other reason I didn't do it is because to some extent, the atheist movement cannibalized itself. I don't know if people really realize this, but I traced the demise. You remember the heyday that they had on atheism, where they had a community and they were indoctrinating at great numbers with great success. Ultimately, Islam, as an irony, Islam brought the atheist movement to its knees, because the modern-day secular extremist movement is it's really just leftism and stand-in religion for secularist cause. That's really what it is. And when Islam became politically incorrect to attack, you know, the atheist YouTube movement split into two camps and began to turn their arsenal against each other. And I pretty much watched it just go down in flames. Quite frankly, I watched it go down in flames happily, because I knew how much damage they were doing to young minds and to a culture. And they pretty much just cannibalized themselves to the point where they really didn't need me as much. I decided some of the new fronts to this culture war were political fronts, where people were, you know, attacking the speech of Christians, the speech of children in school. And I remember thinking to myself, there needs to be another voice on that front. You know, quite frankly, the YouTube atheism was kind of doing its own damage at that point, you know, if that makes any sense to you.
No, yeah, it absolutely was. And I think atheist movement cannibalized itself. But, you know, it's funny that you bring up Islam, because, man, I'll tell you, when it comes down to it, the atheists are such punks, man. They're such pussies. You attack Christianity with no quarter.
Yeah.
Right? But when it comes to Islam, you turn and tuck your tail and you run. You know, people have no problem saying Christianity, but when it comes to Islam, they just approach it so much more politically correct because they're afraid to get jihaded.
That's exactly spot on right.
And don't think that people don't see that on the atheists. The atheists think that, like, they're immune to that. No, people know you're punks, man. Don't think for a second that people don't recognize you as complete punks, because when it comes to the hard battle, see, the Christians, they're cool. They're going to be respectful. Islam's a different story. But it's funny, you know, every video that came out, every video that, you know, they had against you was not just really an attack on Brock Wally. It was an attack on Christianity. And
it was when you don't want somebody to hear a message, you attack them personally. That's as that's as old as dirt. That's not just me. I mean, if you look at Craig, if you look at all these guys, Ravi Zacharias and recently Dinesh D'Souza, it's always attacked personally. It's so that when you hear their name, you immediately write them off. And, of course, there's a larger theme here, which is that's what they do with Christianity. They make it so that people, when they hear Christianity, what do they hear? Now they hear homophobe, they hear bigot. They really actually know nothing of Christianity. They know of this fabricated, false, fictionalized reputation that the atheists have been able to construct like a Potemkin village. They don't know anything about Christianity.
People have to be educated if they're going to preach. Better arguments, I should say. Better deductive arguments. Atheism is not what it used to be. It's definitely on the decline. You had a big part in that. William Lane Craig had a big part in that. Love you, Brock, but I mean, William Lane Craig destroyed everyone in every debate.
The man spent his life studying and honing his mind to the point where it was a watertight argument. The only thing you had left to do was to attack him personally. Of course, that's what you see them doing. I mean, nobody in an intellectual debate with William comes away factually victorious. What they do is they, again, slander the faith and slander the man. But unfortunately, if you think about it, and this is a very truthful thing, the world we live in now is a very emotive world. It is not a logical world. So the atheist understands that. They don't have to win by way of arguments. They have to attack the veneer and they have to attack the reputation of the ideology. And if they do that, they never have to confront the ideology. And of course, that's what Craig deals with now. He never fears that his argument isn't going to be enough. He fears that his audience is not going to listen to reason. Think about it. When we were kids, right, it took a very unique, courageous individual to stand up to what a popular sort of mob-like crowd would think. So at some point, the actual substance of one's character or even the substance of the issue or even who's right or wrong becomes an afterthought. What matters is how do you feel about associating yourself with said person. And the left and also secularism and atheism understands this brilliantly, and they are geniuses in this formula. They know that the millennials, and in 2014, we live in a very baby pool, shallow, centimeter-deep world. All that matters is how you feel. All that matters is how you come across, and what you say substantively matters to fewer and fewer individuals. That's really the greatest danger, I think, to us as a society, quite frankly.
It's that ADD mentality, put a video out that can catch people's attention and make it fast, 2-minute, 3-minute video, jump around, act like an idiot, and hopefully you get, some young people that think that's cool.
I mean, that's exactly right.
You were like that tough dad to the atheist man. Wipe the eyeliner off your face and get over yourself. That was, I got to say, Brock, that I hope you save that video in case it gets taken down, because probably after somebody listens to this podcast, they'll probably flag it.
I think ultimately one of the things you touched on, man, which is really interesting to me, is Christians have this notion that somehow Christianity has to come off as very weak. But that's not true. I mean, if you look at Christ's life, when he saw injustice, when he saw lies, I mean, Christ used phrases like tie a millstone around your neck and throw yourself into the water. He used phrases like chop off your own hand and throw it into the chaff if it causes you to sin. He turned over tables. This is a God very upset with people who will turn eternal souls to darkness. And so this notion that you have to somehow handhold or come across as some sort of powder puff, what I attribute this to is the American church specifically is more in love with the love and the approval of the world than they are with the love and approval of their Creator. It's a frightening trend that has sort of swallowed up the Christian mind. This is a battlefield. It is not a playground. And this is serious, high-stakes poker. We're talking about eternal souls when we talk about this stuff. And the atheist message is one of damnation. The atheist message is one of death. And so to think that you would get into that ring and not play for real is very frustrating. It's very similar to my service. One of the biggest frustrations that a lot of servicemen face is we're sent to war with our hands tied behind our back. And we face a very ferocious and evil enemy. And we should approach that enemy in a very serious way.
Visit the Atheist Antidote YouTube channel. À Brooklyn les productions.